It wasn't until the concentric curse on the woman's arm faded away that she finally felt an overwhelming sense of relief. She knew she could finally leave this heart-wrenching place, while that blind, heartless scumbag had no idea what he was about to lose. He was too busy accepting the imperial edict bestowing his marriage to the scheming woman, even vowing affectionately to her that he'd never betray her for life. Looking at the phoenix coronet, red wedding robes, and the grand dowry before her, plus her own daughter, born after enduring 81 tribulations, calling a stranger mother, the woman realized her love had been a total mistake. Resolutely, she burned the letter she'd written to her heavenly father and prepared to return to the celestial realm. Originally, she was the most beloved daughter of the heavenly Tao. But 7 years ago, she fell in love with a mortal. To help her lover defy fate, she'd sacrificed thousands of years of cultivation, inscribed a concentric curse on both their arms, and transferred all her fortune to him, eventually elevating him from a penniless commoner to the revered national defense general. What she didn't expect was that the moment he achieved fame and fortune, he brought back a royal princess, claiming his glory was all thanks to her behind-the-scenes support. To repay the princess, he said he'd take her as a co-wife. The woman never thought his sincerity could be so cheap. His mother tried desperately to dissuade him, but in vain. The princess even stepped forward to sneer, calling her a country bumpkin unworthy of him, warning she'd only humiliate herself by staying. Watching him betray their vows, the woman was consumed with regret. She resolved to cut off all ties and never see him again. When her heavenly father learned of her decision, he decided to use a secret technique to lift the concentric curse, stating that once the man made her shed 3 tears of heartbreak, the curse would dissolve, and he'd personally welcome her back to heaven, free from all constraints. But she never thought the first tear would come so soon. Before leaving, she wanted to give the father and daughter pastries refined from celestial treasures, hoping to grant them longevity. Yet when the princess's pastries appeared, hers were tossed aside like garbage. She tried to urge her daughter to eat hers, only to receive a ruthless slap from the man, who yelled that she was petty, always stirring up trouble, and that he regretted marrying her in the first place. Recalling the vows he'd made when he was poor, the woman's heart shattered. It was Mid-Autumn Festival that day, though gravely ill, she'd hoped for one last family dinner. But when the scumbag heard the princess had a cold, he immediately took their daughter to the palace without a second thought. In his eyes, all his achievements owed to the princess's groundwork, never realizing every victory was bought with her drained fortune. But she knew none of that mattered anymore. Overwhelmed by grief, she picked up a brush and wrote a divorce letter. The man's mother knew they'd wronged such a good daughter-in-law, but with her son being blind to reason, she was powerless. When the emperor finally bestowed him the title of National Defense General, the woman thoughtfully prepared his favorite dishes to celebrate. But just then, the princess arrived with imperial feast dishes, replacing all hers, and sat down as if she were the general's mansion's mistress.
百善孝为先，老夫人，请入座吧。
母亲，来坐。
灵儿这丫头，我也喜欢得紧，一起来吃吧。
谢谢娘亲，娘亲对我真好。
娘亲。
The woman never imagined her ungrateful daughter would call the princess mother to her face. To further humiliate her, the princess ordered the guard dogs to be brought to the door, then commanded the woman to let them dine at the table.
奖励。真难看，姜子。
Even funnier, the next morning, the man stormed in with soldiers, accusing her of assassination. The princess tossed out a bow, claiming it was found in her room. His mother rushed to defend her, saying she'd stayed in her room all night and it must be a frame-up, but the scumbag refused to listen. He shouted that she must kneel and apologize to the princess, or he'd show no mercy with his sword. Faced with his aggression, the woman remained silent. Enraged, the scumbag kicked her to her knees. At that moment, she shed her 3rd tear of heartbreak, knowing their enmity was forever severed. Resolutely, she burned the letter to her heavenly father, praying he'd guide her back to heaven. To finish her off, the princess had the emperor's royal robes and jade belt burned, framing the woman. As expected, the blind fool grabbed his sword, ready to execute her on the spot.
是渔夫，今日我必亲手斩你！是人，出来受死！